Alright, we are recording. I need to do some pickups, so it's a claim detail. Which does mean I will be playing the some of the YouTube royalty-free music in the background because, seriously, whenever they do Viscera claim detail 2, they need to have a built-in MP3 player or whatever where you can just find music on your system. Alright, yeah, I don't think I really have more to say, so there, that is the plan. There we go. And start. Evil Science, the new level, and I started time ago. It seems appropriate to get started. Alright. Yeah, I'm just gonna get that straight away. I'm gonna need that. Oh man, it has been 4 months since I last. Talk about. I'm sure I have something to talk about. Perfect. Here's what I'm looking for. One thing that is just today watched something that watched a video that I can't comment on, and I may leave a comment. Hardware Unboxed. They had been asked and finally decided to actually do the testing, which. The testing wasn't bad, but it was limited. And I'll get into why I think that they did it that way. But it was testing what the impact is from what the performance impact is on gaming when you have certain background tests going, which is a very legitimate concern. It's like for me, I basically always have a browser open. Obviously, it's active while I'm playing the game. But I also have an email client open, Steam, obviously. I also let Epic Games Store be running in the background, Glados. Various things, but it's, as they do point out very correctly, a lot of things, yes, they're using CPU resources, but very little. One thing that they actually could have said but didn't is that even the percentage stuff in Task Manager I would not trust. That could be rounding certain things up. That it's I just when you add light enough loads that may have certain optimizations that they can take advantage of, I would not trust the percentage that is being reported to be accurate. I have not realized. Let's find that. Oh, it's right. But they then only tested, well, it was mainly just Steve, not Tim who did, but tested the singular kind of just normal background text. So, like having Chrome open with some number of YouTube videos, at some of those tested 1080p video as well as a 4K video. Which, it's like, yeah, a lot of that stuff is actually going to be GPU accelerated, so will there be a difference? It can be, but YouTube videos shouldn't be too much, but also Discord, including Discord streaming. I have no idea how Discord handles that video encoding. But he still found that, yeah, it's measurable, but it doesn't really matter. It's not enough to make a difference in the suite of games we're using. So let's consider what I'm doing right now. I have a 1950X, which shoots 16 cores, 32 threads. It's awesome. I love it. The silicon will have to break for me to not always make sure I have some. I hope I did. Okay, I did not step. It's like it really is that amazing a CPU. And I currently have it playing this game, which for the record, VCD is a terribly optimized game. It is. Alright, I think I was playing this back when I still had the Vega installed. And now true, it is also Unreal Engine 3, and Unreal Engine 3 especially, but even the newer Unreal Engine don't really like AMD. Fortunately, Unreal Engine 4 has gotten better with that. I think 5 is also appreciably better. Like, they've stated that they do have some partnerships with AMD to help with that. Crap, I'm trying to remember his name. There's actually one of the higher up people at Epic that once said, this is back like Unreal Engine or Unreal 2 so quite a while ago. Basically saying that he only considers NVIDIA GPU to be legitimate GPUs. He wasn't counting, it would have been ATI at the time, as Series 0 cards. Yeah, that's not healthy for anyone, but or any business. But they didn't really care about the optimizations. That has been changing. But it's still, it's like right now I'm getting about 60. Now, true, there's not a whole lot. I mean, true, looking up here, it's at 50, 45. I expect to drop down there. It's like this is still perfectly playable for this kind of gameplay. And it's like this is a known, badly optimized game. Okay. And I have 1950X, which is very powerful. Not. I mean, there's certainly things that surpass it. But it still is a very powerful CPU that is playing the game, that is driving the RX 580, that is recording the game as well using X264 and the fast preset. It is also recording the heart rate monitor, which true, that I could actually, I think it might, at one point at least. I did do a test with the heart rate monitor. Even at lossless encoding, okay, lossless in X264, it was taking like sub 200 kilobits per second. Which, give you an idea, if I demuxed the video, so there's the video here, and the audio here, and there's 3 different audio tracks in each file, by the way, as well, the audio was larger. Like, I had it set to use AAC at 256 kilobits. So the audio, there's actually more data spent in the heart rate monitor videos on the audio than on the video. That's how easily compressed it. And lossless for the gaze tracker actually comes out to like 7 to 8 megabit. And I have a feeling that's mainly because of the fade that it has along the edges. And I know I just started hearing around. It's like, that's going to help you to notice the edges. But still is my point being that it's like, even at lossless, those things are taking up that much. And it's doing all of that, and it's like right now, it's 56, 58, going to Steam. It's like, I've got so much going on right now in a badly optimized game. And it's still completely playable, there's nothing wrong with it. I just want to push everything better. So I might just leave some comment on that video. I don't know. It'll be after I do all this. Basically saying, wait, now do it again with single stream recording there, and just use the 5700X he used would be appropriate to try there. I don't think I would want to try it with the 5600 that he used. It's like 6 cores. Well, maybe at very fast but only 1 encoder. Definitely. But I could definitely see the 5900X with 12 cores, 24 threads, doing better than that. I mean, I think the 3900X, so the Zen 2 12-core actually beats the 1900. On some things, not on memory bandwidth. I would still win on memory bandwidth because it's quad channels of dual channels. But yeah, I mean, so long as memory bandwidth isn't a concern, and I don't know how much it actually is, especially for one video stream. But I could see the 3900X being like, yeah, you're acting as though, I can't do this. Steve, come on, give me a chance. Come on. And he also spent some time talking about how basically, well, if you're going to be doing this, you really need to just use your GPU, don't use your CPU. NVENC is the way to go. And also, he's like, do what I did, which is build a second PC. It's like, okay, I will grant. NVENC encoding, using the ASIC, the encoding ASICs on your GPU, perfectly viable for the majority of people playing a game. And I don't particularly like NVENC for a different reason. But it's like, okay, that's certainly serviceable for that use case. So go ahead and do that. But so it's like that's a fair recommendation to me. But the idea of, oh well, no, you shouldn't even try doing on a single system, not with the hardware acceleration. You have to do it, either with that or build a second system, which is like, okay, you're talking about potentially probably a 6-core would be able to do it as a second system. But you'd also need a capture card in there, and some of those can be themselves $100. You'll need a GPU for it, or you're using an APU, because you do need to have some visual ability to interact with the system visually. A second monitor, so that you can see what exactly is going on. A second input device. I technically could use a macro pad, but second keyboard, second mouse. It's like, yeah, second case, second power supply. You're easily talking about, probably $700 there or something. Whereas if it's you're where did I put it? Oh, so. Whereas it's like, you build one system, especially a modern system that, okay, my brother is building a new system. I actually made him get the 5600X, because for what he does, there's no way in hell. But it's like, I could see the 800X managing to do live streaming in X264 while gaming without a huge decline in performance. I could. I don't have that system to test with. I am a little tempted to try with the 2700X test system, to be honest. Not this game, though. I might do Satisfaction, because I have that installed. I do other games I can do as well. But it's like, that's one that I'm in on the test system. So I could definitely believe that if I were to do that. It's like, yeah, it might go down 10%, but let's be realistic. That's not that much. And that's on 2700, which is a way to describe the 1950X. What I have that I saw some people do was, it's basically two 2700Xs together. In that the dies for Threadripper were sufficiently well designed and thin for Threadripper that it did actually have them approach the level of Zen Plus. Now, not in every way would it be so directly comparable, but yeah. I really have to do that. And just to make the point that, yeah, Steve, you need to do this and shut up about the whole, oh, well, you shouldn't be doing it this way. Steve, try it. Just stop with the assumptions and actually try it. Because I'm doing 3 encoding stream. True, it's a 1950X, but as I said, the 3900X, the 5900X will probably surpass it. Not necessarily on memory bandwidth, but probably still, but for just raw compute power, very possibly surpass it. And I'm quite certain that he would find that, oh, yeah, you can totally do single system streaming this way, and it'll look awesome. Oh, and also don't forget, right now I have VLC playing F2. Just MP3s, which at this point should be very efficient to play, and also the bandwidth for them shouldn't be too bad either. Like by using FLAC, which is still a very efficient, very fast codec. There is more data there, so I could see that having problems. Just because, we have to get so much in and out of the sound. Oh, thank you. Is that the... No, that's the button. Thank you. Thank you, VCD. I so appreciate that. Huh. I have no idea what exactly that did. I mean, it seemed to release a gas in there, which I guess was supposed to imply those are the things that were in there. Yeah. Now, as much as I am basically saying that, yeah, Steve doesn't fully know what he's talking about, it is still fair to point out that a fair amount of what he was talking about concerning how CPU workloads actually work on the CPU, completely accurate. He's not, how I would put it is he's not understanding that also goes to the higher level that he's just assuming it doesn't. It's like, yeah, x264, it is a heavier workload for CPU, but at the same time, it's still completely within reach, especially at the appropriate preset. I could totally see it very fast. It working fine, not being any kind of problem. Yeah, x264 has various presets concerned with the various encoding parameters. Ultra fast, super fast, very fast, fast. No, faster, fast. I think faster's in there. I might be thinking something. Medium, slow, slower, very slow, and placebo. And it's different things that those do. Like, so for, I think very slow. Okay, so part of how modern video encoding work is interframe encoding. Quick. So as it sounds like, as the word implies, that is encoding, well, compressing across frame. And the way that's done is with motion vector. Okay. So, for example, okay. So this image right now, ignore the hands because they're messing with it. But the image of the furnace, if I do this, what's actually happening for a lot of it, now there's some parallax here that's going to break that, but for a lot of it, it's just saying, hey, take this image data from the previous frame and just move it in this direction. Move it to the right. And then it will tell it, okay, this is what is different. And, then just corrects whatever was wrong, right? For the faster methods, that can be the number of directions that can be done with, where it can say, hey, go in this direction. Like, I think at ultra fast, it's only the cardinal direction. So it's only up, down, left, right. But at even very fast, and certainly at fast, which is what I'm now, it is, it actually has what would they be called? It's the 8 directions, so you also have the diagonal. But at very slow and placebo, it is even more great. Okay? And that's part of the reason why it is so much slower. It's also a different algorithm, I think, finding what the angles should be, what the vectors should be. But it's, like, there's a lot of play there with how much load is on the CPU. I also just realized I should have started the test. I've taken to just doing all video processing, not the recording, but the video processing on the test system, because the desktop, there's something about video encoding that will sometimes cause a hard lock for me on the desktop, and it's like, well, it doesn't do it on the test system. And I could believe it's just because technically this install, this Windows install, is so old that there's just something legacy there that's kind of broken. Or it could just be, because technically, well, no, it shouldn't be because I have it overclocked, because it's just to the maximum boost clock, and it's been serving me fine. Actually, I can have it clocked higher, but it's more likely to crash when doing video encoding, but other things it will. But it's a significant problem if I have a crash while recording. The crash while processing is not as bad because I'm not necessarily disgusting. But it's like, well, I can just put on the test system, then can do whatever the hell I want on the desktop. That's awesome. But that just clear, because the whole you don't need two systems is part of my argument. It's the convenience and to avoid a crash. It has nothing to do with performance. I don't know exactly when it would have been, but I've definitely had it where, you know, the desktop, I'm having the desktop do processing while I'm just like working on something else. More likely overnight. But it's still, you know, like if it's a review, I could be writing the review while the video for the review is processing. But yeah, I mean, it's the whole CPUs are a lot more powerful than I think some people want to acknowledge. And it's not they don't want to acknowledge it, but they just don't know. That it's like, they're just so used to the whole, no, you want to do, you know, two systems to do this streaming. You don't want to do it all on one, or the whole, oh, you should just use, you know, the ASIC acceleration. It's like, yeah, that's gonna work fine, but it's like, don't say you can't do single system. You totally can. I've been doing it for years. Yeah, does actually remind me, they had a discussion about this previously that was like the impetus for him doing this video. And I left a comment on there saying I've been doing this for 6 years. It's like, and then I realized after I left the comment, oh wait, no, because it's the 950X, it's not that old. I've been doing these videos for 6 years, but I did initially use it. Was actually the GTX 1080 with NVENC. But then I did move to using Vega, and I did. The first one I did with the Vega was actually the Scano Sombra. And I think that was the only one I did with Vega for the encoding. Because after that is when I built the current desktop with the 1950X and no longer use the ASIC encoding. I think that's how that. I know Scano Sombra I did with Vega. I know that. I just don't remember what else. And also one other funny thing, and this won't happen with NVIDIA GPU because of an artificial limit NVIDIA has, but it can happen with AMD. You can actually choke the GPU performance if you put too many encoding streams. I mean, as I said, this technically will happen with NVIDIA GPUs, but they enforce a limit of only 2 streams. Which 1080, that's trivial. 1440, probably not going to be a problem for NVENC either. Maybe 2 4K streams. Yeah, that I don't know. But still, it's, you know, if you want, you can choke a GPU and end up having your performance crash for that. So yeah, I do kind of want to just leave that comment saying, no, you really need to do this I mean, maybe not with the 5600. I can see the 5700X managing one encoding stream, but you go to the 5900X or better, or the 3900X or better, you will have no problem. The difference will be a lot smaller than you're assuming it will be. Saw something today. Rumor. Only slightly changing the topic. An alleged engineering sample for Zen 4 that in some benchmark beat even the 5950X. Now, it's apparently a benchmark for browsers, though, so we can likely assume single thread. But even if not, probably not that heavy. I don't know. But that is interesting to know for me, because I don't know if I would talk about it in the previous VCD recordings I've done or anything like that. But I am considering upgrading the CPU and the test system as Zen 4 comes out, around that time. Because, 2700X is nice, but I got the money, I put a new cooler on it, so it's like, maybe in the coming months I will, upgrade the CPU itself. But it's one of those, personally, I would want the 5900X in there because, as I said earlier, I do use it for video processing. So that would greatly help me. But the test system is meant for doing some weird experiment stuff, but also for collecting performance data, which right now the best performing CPU, gaming CPU is 5800XP. Well, I don't want the best performing gaming CPU. I want the test system to be more relevant, directly relevant. Because, it's nice to be like, oh yeah, and we're running in the best of the best right now for this benchmark to show you what it is without bottlenecks. Yeah, that's awesome. We're not buying that. It's like when I built the test system, I was very intentional that I basically gave myself a budget of $1,000, which I think is a fair budget for a lot of people building a system. And I'm going a little bit over, but not too far. And it's like, okay, how does this perform? That I wanted it to be more the average for what a reader would be actually using. And I do believe that is valuable, and that is something that many professional reviewers neglect. Not inappropriate, well, it is not inappropriate how some of them neglect. Like, I think that Hardware Unboxed, Steve and Tim have both basically said that, we are doing it this way because we want the testing to represent bottlenecks being removed, and not necessarily, what it is for the average person. Because, that's the standard for our testing, and so long as they keep to the standard, that's fine, they can do that. But I can believe that there's plenty of other places that don't even think about it. Or that kind of like the whole, I'm criticizing Steve, that I feel he's just acting on certain assumptions that are not necessarily accurate, at least not anymore. But I can see some, basically, total lack of consciousness that, no, people aren't buying the 12900K for their builds. They're buying what is cost appropriate and most appropriate for their workload. It's like, I'll consult my brother some of this. He wanted to buy the 5950X for his new system, and I told him no. Because, there's nothing he does that needs that much horsepower. I use that much horsepower. I'm using it right now. He does nothing. The most he would do is some game. Occasionally, he will do some video encoding, but that seemed like, he's got a movie or something, he's just gonna, re-encode it, put it into his NAS. It's like, yeah, that's not something you need to be done quick. It's nice when it's quick, but no, that's the 5950X is tremendous overload for that, and completely inappropriate for him to go. But I do feel that there are some reviewers out there that they only think in terms of what is the best thing out there instead of, okay, what's the realistic? And as I said, when building a test system, I try to be conscious of that. By making sure that I pick hardware that I could have some confidence would actually be present, would be what an average user would have. In fact, I initially wanted to actually get the 2600X, not the 2700X, but 2700X was on sale to about 2600X's price, and the 2600X was actually not in stock, so it's like, okay, I'll go with that. I mean, I'll be able to use it two extra cores, that's not a problem. But it was, just the whole, I did an upgrade because it was feasible for me. But, it's just, I do believe that there are some reviewers, and I'm not saying hardware unbox is among them, but that there are some who lose sight of that. Hardware unbox, it's basically they set their standards for how they are going to process stuff, how they're going to collect stuff, and that's what they choose to go with. And they do occasionally do videos that are the more, $1,000 build kind of stuff. And nothing wrong. And I think that's great that they do spend the time to do that. I do think that content should be more common, but they have their process, and they're sticking to it, which helps them with how they manage stuff, but also helps the reader, or viewer in that case, actually, to interpret the result. Because there can be consistency is very important when dealing with any kind of data. So basically, you'd either have to always do the high-end bottleneck-free builds, high-end bottleneck-free testing, which is what they do, or keep doing more average all the time, or do both, which is going to be a mix and a lot of time. And they chose one side. It's like, okay, nothing wrong with that. Keep to it, but they at least are aware that there is technically that one deficiency. And sometimes they put in the extra work. Sometimes they don't. My criticism is just that there are some that I can believe have no cognition, haven't even thought about, oh yeah, my results really only matter to like 3% of the people actually looking at this. Because the bulk of the people who look at my stuff are people that are not spending that much on their new system, or are just they're running older hardware, so this is not relevant to them. It's the whole, hey, a new GPU comes out, okay, we'll test it with the 12900K or the 5800X 3D, the fastest CPUs you can get. Yeah, I'm still running a CPU from like 3-4 years ago. How does it perform on that? That's not what we're testing. It's like, so there are bottlenecks that are now being ignored, but it still kind of comes down to the whole, but you can get a sense of relative performance. So, if they do have the GPU you are using, let's say we're talking about the 3600X, and you have in your system a 960X. 960X? Why? Wait, leave it up. I'm confusing nomenclature. A 960, GTX 960, and you're wondering about, okay, should I go to an RTX 3060, or is it not actually worth it? And your CPU is 3-4 years old. Well, yeah, there's such a thing as CPU bottlenecking, but I wouldn't be too worried about it myself. I mean, it's like 3-4-year-old CPU. You put in a 3060, you're gonna see an uplift over a 960, unless you really have an underpowered system. In which case, I could believe that you should upgrade the CPU before upgrading the GPU. You may see a bigger performance uplift doing that than you may expect. Oh, that's awkward. Oh, couldn't remember if I had this off. But, you know, you can still, I mean, true, they might not go back to a 960, but they might have a 1060 in there, which is better than 960 and lets you start thinking, and 1060 is about the level of the 980, so it's like you can start making reasonable assumptions and correlations to figure out, okay, this will probably give me around this one. Which, you know, basically you always have to do when looking at reviews for any product. Is you have to figure out, okay, we have to interpolate between the results. Okay, what is it that I'm actually going to experience? I could talk a little bit about that. Not in the 5 minutes I've got left. How about this? I did an upgrade. Did an upgrade actually 2 days ago. So I changed the mic arm. Which is true. No impact at all on anything you're gonna hear. At least it shouldn't be. Wait, what the bucket? Or did I, like... lost track of my bucket. So if we use now, I've been using a cheap, but, you know, it works. It's a mic arm that is, you know, a scissor design. And it works, but it's, you know, kind of creaky, not always that stable, certainly not that strong. It's like, well, I got the money now, and that is one thing that I would like to improve. And I saw a while ago a video looking at various mic arms, including one from Media. That is very nice. That's what I got. And it works in the wall mount that I use instead. I can't do the desk mount. I don't have one on the desk. But yeah, so that's there, and what's nice about this is it's not, it does have springs in it, tension, but it's not a scissor system. So the wall mount I have is actually above my head, so it kind of needs to swing the mic down, and actually over part of my desk. So what's nice about this other design, if you look at, it's the, I don't actually remember the full name, but it's the Media BA311 mic arm. And no, I'm not sponsored or anything by that, it's just, hey, I got this. And what I'm hoping will let me do is basically just, two pieces to the arm, pivot in between. What I'm hoping will let me do, and so far it looks like it will, is basically have the piece closer to the mount itself, not turn, not move at all, while the piece that the mic is attached to, that I can move back and forth, that I can swing back and forth. So that way it'll help with keeping the mic in the same position. And it should also just be quieter, because sometimes I would push the mic up and then with the old one, and it would just start creaking, because it would start, so pushing it up, so gravity's pulling it down and it just start creaking as it slowly falls. It's like, yeah, that was so annoying. And this won't do that. Which does make me very happy. I was seriously so I wanted to finish this level before. Now, I've not really seen... Oh, there we go. There we go. I was about to say, I've not really seen any use for the arc weld. I wonder if that's mainly going to be on this floor. I'm also thinking... that's all I should... I'm going to stop the timer now. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to change out the bucket. I'm going to grab the arc welder and just bring that over, as well as another bucket. There. So it's like the arc welder near where I'm going to need it, and then a bucket, which I'm also... bum, bum, ba-da, na, bum, bum, na, 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 na. Sorry. um, what? Sometimes I'm allowed to enjoy the music. So it better be allowed. All right. Yeah. So I shall stop this and see you next time.